Yes.
Just one second. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, I'd like to invite the speaker, Mr. Goutam Roy, who will talk about Beyond the Bottle, how to hire the microbial workforce that runs your pond. I now request the speaker to begin. Thank you.
Okay. Uh, Good afternoon, everyone. Now, before I show you a single slide, I want to ask you to do something that forget everything you think you know about the bottle of probiotic lying in your storeroom, right? So, most of us were trained to think of probiotic as a product. Sometimes you buy, pour in, and hope works. I'm here to tell you that the mental model is the single biggest reason farm underperform with biologicals. So what you are actually buying is not a product, it's a workforce. Now, over the next hours, I'm just going to walk you through how to think like a manager of a biological company that operates inside your pond 24 hours a day, doing three jobs simultaneously. Those jobs are cycling nutrients, defending against pathogens, and maintaining the water quality. I call this as a biological command center model. And by the end of this talk, you will be able to diagnose your pond the way a factory manager diagnoses a production line, department by department, right? So now we'll go to the second slide. Yeah. Uh, Here's a slide, uh, here is the single most expensive misconception in our industry that all probiotics are interchangeable. Picture this: you have an electrical fault in your house. It's an example, right? If you think of that, you have an electrical fault in your house and you have called a plumber. He is perfectly good plumber. He is still going to make things worse, not better, because he is solving the wrong problem with a wrong skill set. This is exactly what happens when we apply a generic probiotic blend without understanding what our pond actually needs. Your pond is not a tank of water, it's a complex factory with specialized departments. You have waste processors handling sludge at the bottom, and you have the immune architect working inside the gut. You have pH stabilizer managing the water column chemistry, right? So each of these departments need a different specialist. Apply the wrong strain or the right strain at the wrong time, and you don't just waste money, you actively destabilizes the ecosystem balance you are trying to protect. And a destabilized ecosystem is an open invitation to the exact pathogens you are trying to keep out. Now we are standing at a genuine crossroads in the industry. For decades, antibiotics were the crutch we leaned on whenever something went wrong. That crutch is now broken, and it's broken from both directions at once. On one side, regulatory bans are tightening across the every major export markets. If you want to sell into a premium market, antibiotic residues are simply not an option anymore. On the other side, even where the antibiotics are still legally available, their efficacy is collapsing because of resistances. Because when you are using these antibiotics in a wrong way, in that case, instead of protecting the your system ecosystem in the water, it becomes, I mean, the bacteria and other things are become resistant to these antibiotics. So then we are pushing the stocking densities higher every year, which means pathogens pressure keeps climbing right at the moment our old tool stops working. This is exactly when the precision probiotic management isn't trained the market level. It's the only scientifically validated path that lifts. We are moving from reactive chemical firefighting to proactive biological management, and the data backs this up. Consistent Vibrio suppressions, improved FCR, and superior water quality, all without the residue problems. Now, here we just stating the mechanism, which is very, very important to understand. So, the mechanism number one, it is the competitive exclusion. What it is saying, that think of the gut lining and the pond substrate as a limited biological real estate. Pathogens like Vibrio and Aeromonas are opportunists. They need a physical landing pad to attach before they can even be in an infection. Begin the infection. Means here you have seen that they want a landing pad where the pathogens and others they want to stay, and then they will start doing the evil work. Now, what the competitive exclusion says, that our strategy is simply be simple: flood the system with beneficial workers that arrives first, occupy even available landing pad, and consume the available nutrients. When the pathogens show up, the building is full. There is no vacancy sign lit up everywhere they look, and they get stopped and crowded out before the outbreak ever starts. So therefore it goes out and dies off, and we are just getting I mean, we can avoid the activities of those pathogenic bacteria. Now, the mechanism two. This is the disruption or quorum quenching. This next one is one of the more advanced tool in our kit, and it always gets people attention. Pathogens don't attack randomly. They coordinate using the chemical language called quorum sensing, releasing AHL signals back and forth until their numbers are high enough to overwhelm the host, right? So that is very important thing we should understand. Then quorum quenching strains secretes enzymes that degrades those all AHL signals. Those AHL signals are getting uh, degraded. We are quite literally jamming their radio frequencies. The pathogens are still physically present, but they go blind and deaf. They can't coordinate a synchronized attack, and the host uh, natural immune defense can pick them off one at a time instead of facing a coordinated assaults. These two mechanisms handle territory and communication. The next one handles something just as critical, turning feed into growth. So, mechanism three. Here's a number that should bother every farm manager in this room. Every gram of undigested feed is a double loss. You already paid for it, and now it's sitting in your pond, polluting the water you have to manage. So that way, feed management. So that's why people used to say that feed management is very, very important step for a successful culture. Now, we deploy microbes as chemical scissors. They secrete a cocktail of catalysts, protease for proteins, amylases for starches, lipases for fats, cellulase for fibers that break complex feed structure down into bioavailable nutrients that the animal can actually absorb. The direct result is a dramatically improved feed conversion ratio and a cleaner pond because what comes out the other end is already reduced, right? So there these these active enzymes helps us in reducing the complex feed structures, and it becomes a bioavailable nutrient for the animals. Now we'll come to the mechanism 4. It says that this next mechanism is essentially vaccination without needle. Certain microbes, especially yeasts, have cell walls, which reach in beta glucans. These acts as pathogen-associated molecular patterns or PAMPs. They fit into the animal's macrophage receptors like a key into a lock, tricking the immune system into a state of high alert without ever causing the actual disease. We call this as biological shield. When a real pathogen eventually attacks, the immune system is already primed and ready with protective gene expression upregulated across the whole population, right? So this is your mechanism number 4, which is which gives us the protection from the other pathogenic bacterial activity. Now it is mechanism number 5. This is most important of all the mechanisms. This is the bioremediation, detoxifies the environment. So this is the core of the high density or biofloc operation, and frankly, it's the one of the most directly connected to mortality events on real farms. We built what I called as a biological filtration matrix. This is the biological filtration matrix which is getting generated by the probiotic what we are using. This is provides the direct detoxifications of the water column and bottom sludge, converts the lethal ammonium and hydrogen sulfides into non-toxic compounds, and the foundational mechanism for the zero exchange water and high density biofloc system, right? So this is getting created when we are using this right probiotic at right time. So instead of waiting for these toxins to build up, these ammonia and hydrogen sulfide, which are lethal to the lethal concentrations, build up to the lethal concentrations and then scrambling to react. This workforce continuously converts them into non-toxic compounds. This is nitrogen gas and the nitrates. This works round the clock. This is the difference between a pond living in constant low grade stress state and one operating in which I call the low stress, high growth safe zone. Now, this is a roster slide with 3 organisms. So, the first one is the genus Bacillus, means that this is the heavy industry. Uh, Meet your blue color workforce. This is the most important workforce in your probiotic bottle. This is Bacillus subtilis and Bacillus licheniformis. Their job is sludge reduction and waste degradation, which are the main cause of any difficulties. This is the heavy industrial work of the pond. Their superpower is spore formation. This bacillus, normally this genus bacillus, they are spore formers. They wrap themselves in an indestructible shell that survives in the extreme heat and mechanical pressure of feed pelleting. They stay dormant in the bag, and when wake up and start working once they hit water or gut condition, right? Then thereafter it comes the nitrifying bacteria. These are the chemical engineers, right? If we consider them as a chemical engineer in a factory, these are the engine of your nitrogen cycle. Their entire job is keeping ammonia at zero by converting it step by step into safer nitrogen compounds. Without them, ammonia simply accumulates with nowhere to go. Then the photosynthetic bacteria, this is also an important strains of bacteria, means whatever your probiotic we are using, those are the consortium of bacteria which contains this bacillus, then nitrifying bacteria, then photosynthetic bacteria. Now the photosynthetic bacteria, the only workers on the roster capable of handling the black soil problem. They use sunlight to oxidize the lethal hydrogen sulfide gas trapped in bottom sludge. Without these specialists, the foundation of your pond will eventually rot from underneath the stalk. Right? See, this blackishness is mainly due to the sulfide salts. Then hydrogen sulfide gas is formed, and then sulfide salts becomes deposited, and which creates tremendous problem in the total pond ecosystem. Next is our lactic acid bacteria. This is the gut health and feed optimization. So lactic acid, Lactobacillus plantarum and uh, P. acidilacti are Pseudomonas acidilacti are your health and safety officers. They live in the gut producing organic acids that drop the local pH to the level of pathogens simply cannot survive in. They also act as a pH buffer for the whole pond, neutralizing those dangerous afternoon alkalinity spikes driven by the intense algal activity. Now the genus comes Saccharomyces, that is the foundational yeast. This is your multitasker. The Saccharomyces cerevisiae delivers the high density beta glucans we discussed earlier for immune priming, but it also acts as a targeted binders, physically grabbing onto mycotoxins and pathogens like Vibrio, striping them off the gut wall and carrying them out as waste, right? So that way, that Saccharomyces strains are very much important. So we need to see whether the our probiotic bottle contains Saccharomyces, some strains of Saccharomyces or not. Then Cluvaromyces. Cluvaromyces, for anyone running the biofloc or fermented feed system, this K. Marixanus is essential. It's high protein biomass producer up to 55% of crude protein, which drives the success of world leading fermented feed operations by replacing expensive fish meal with a sustainable microbial protein source. right? So we are just going for the high protein content feed. So instead of that feed, we can use this fermented feed system. But of course, the microbial strain, it is very, very much important. So cloveromyces, maxianus, that is very essential for the uh, better quality of high protein biomass. Then aspergillus, these are biological enzyme factories. Aspergillus aurelia and Aspergillus niger are your preprocessors. They releases powerful cellulase and phytase that breaks down anti-nutritional factor in plant-based feed before the animal ever takes a bite, ensuring nearly 100% of the feed's protein converts into growth. Feed's potential conversion into growth. Right? So these are the mainly Aspergillus strains. They are just helping in the better FCR limit. Now we'll go for the diagnostic playbook, managing the environmental threats. That environmental threats is an important factor which we often used to feel in the pond ecosystem. Now let's get tactical. This is our your emergency response playbook for the three environmental threats you will face most often. Number one is your ammonia spike. Anything over 1 milligram per liter, deploy Bacillus subtilis with nitrifying bacteria and apply it down. Now here I one point I just wanted to mention that these nitrifying bacteria, it takes a longer period for the to come in the equilibrium. So it is always better to use the start using this probiotic at the very beginning, so that the development, I mean the nitrifying bacteria gets the time for its better development and colony formation. The same thing happens for the Bacillus subtilis also, because normally what happens when we are just trying to, when we are just seeing that ammonia spikes, then we do not get any time for the prevention. Now, if the already Bacillus subtilis and nitrifying bacteria are there, then they will start working immediately, right? Now, the application wise, it is uh, very this thing. I mean, it is preferable to deploy the Bacillus subtilis at the dawn. Why dawn is specifically? Dawn specifically because that's when the dissolved oxygen is at its lowest point and the pond's natural filtration is already struggling the most. You want to reinforcement arriving exactly when the system is weakest, right? Now, thereafter, it comes the hydrogen sulfide toxicity, visible as black sludge buildup. Deploy Bacillus licheniformis with photosynthetic bacteria and apply specifically during sludge removal early in the morning. PSB needs uh, a light to drive its detoxification, so morning application is non-negotiable. It's not a suggestion, but it is must. Means whenever you are this photosynthetic bacteria, you are using this photosynthetic bacteria, then photosynthetic bacteria uh, application wise, it should be applied in the morning. For afternoon alkalinity swing, driven by intense algal photosynthesis pushing pH above 9, deploy lactic acid bacteria. They buffer the system and stabilize organic acidity exactly when the spike is occurring. Right? Though I have written here that apply these lactic acid bacteria and other things. But whenever that spike occurs, then people do not get the time to apply when the lactic acid bacteria will start working. So it is always preferable to use the probiotic at the beginning so that your lactic acid bacteria is already there, and whenever the spike is there, they will start working by their own, right? Now let's talk about the scenario. Even every farm manager dreads a vibrio or pathogen outbreak, or a pond showing poor FCR and sluggish weight gain. This requires a different kind of response. If you are seeing a surging vibrio counts or visible signs of disease, we deploy what I call the dual barrier approach. Water column bacillus Water column bacillus combined with gut dosed lactobacillus and Saccharomyces boulardii. The execution strips pathogens from the water while uh, comp- uh, competitively exclude them in the gut simultaneously. We clean the house and secure the tenant at the same time. This pincer movement leaves the pathogen nowhere to hide, and it's significantly more effective than antibiotic precisely because of that, right? So here we can understand that why it is better to use the probiotic instead of antibiotics. If instead you are seeing below the target growth curves, okay, next we'll antibiotic disinfectants and application. Standard operating procedure, the washout rule and synergy. Here, everything I have told you so far can be destroyed in a single afternoon if you ignore the next rule. You cannot mix biologicals with chemicals. Follow the 72 hours washout rule. Never apply your workforce within 3 days of using an antibiotic or any disinfectant. The result of ignoring this is what I call the instant neutralization. You are killing your workers before they even clock in for their first shift. This is the exclusion zone, and it is non-negotiable. So what I have said, that it is very clear that uh, until and unless we give the probiotic bacteria, the bacteria which is there in the probiotic, if we do not give them the proper uh, environment, they will not survive and they cannot work. We cannot expect work out of them. So it is always better that we should we should allow certain gaps in between the use of any uh, disinfectant and the antibiotics. One on the more positive side, here's how the supercharge the effect once you are in safe deployment territory. Use symbiotic pair of pair your microbes with probiotics like MOS or FOS. Think of these as a bagged lunch for your beneficial bacteria. They ensures your workforce dominates the environment immediately or arrival rather than competing for scarce resource with whatever is already there. Right? Now it is the execution logistic, that precision dosing and delivery. Here I would say that l- logic dictates the delivery method, and getting this wrong waste everything we have discussed so far. For water column delivery, apply strictly at dawn, dissolve oxygen at dissolved oxygen is at its daily minimum, and competing algal photosynthesis is lowest. This gives your microbes the least competition and the best chance to establish. Then for incorporation, remember that heat is a killer. So if you are pelleting feed, you must use spore former like bacillus or highly thermostable lactobacillus like uh, uh, Pseudomonas acidilacti that can survive unshielded microbes. Anything else and you are just feeding the fish dead, expensive dust. You are just paid for a workforce that never showed up alive, right? So, in that way, I would prefer that it is better to use this probiotic if you at all want to top up the feed with the probiotic solutions. You spray it and keep it in the, I mean, in the prepared feed. You can spray the probiotic solutions and you can allow some time for its absorption, and then you can use those uh, mildly weight feed with probiotic, and it could be easily distributed. Now fermented slurry, prepare using molasses or whey 24 to 48 hours prior. Apply 5 to 10% of daily feed rate of biomass expansion before application. Right? Fermented using molasses, whey, apply 5 to 10. Yes. So that is there. But one point is that when you are preparing these biomass, it should be very, very hygienic. In fact, in field, I have seen the people are using this fermented slurry or fermented rice bran or like that, but their hygiene condition is pathetic. Now, another important thing is the temperature control. That one final thing before we put all together, microbes are living assets, not self-stable chemicals, and they need to be treated the way from the moment they arrive in a farm. So keep liquid formulations refrigerated below 25 degrees Celsius and ideally at 4 degrees Celsius immediately on delivery. Require airtight containers with desiccants and shield protect absolutely from the direct light. So UV light is harmful for those bacteria. So light and moisture are silent killer of viability. Yeah, this is another important thing that verifying the math, that always audit the certificate of analysis. Effective industrial products must guarantee a minimum of 1 into 10 to the power 8 range or 10 to the power 10 CFU per gram at the expiry, right? Now look at this cross section of it for a moment. This is everything we have discussed today operating together in one pond at the same time. Water quality management. Water quality management is detoxifying ammonia and hydrogen sulfide in the water column. Immunes architect are protecting the gut wall. Nutrient cycle is running in the bottom sludge, breaking down waste before it can accumulate. None of these departments work is in isolation. They are interlocking, right? This is the core idea what I want to leave with. Precision management transforms isolated bacterial action into a single interlocking biological machine. When the ecosystem is stabilized as a whole, the individual species thrive automatically. You stop fighting fires species by species, and you start managing in one integrated system. So uh, this would be my last slide, that precision aquaculture is a question of biological literacy. Your microbial workforce is scientifically validated and ready to deploy, right? The only question left, are you stocking species or are you stocking a system? So this is an important thing, that you are stocking a system, and that's why we are calling this probiotic as a microbial consortium, because there are a lot of various types of microbes in combination and in single bottle or in powder form, right? So these days powder form, this thing also is available, so that also can be very well utilized after activating them. So let me close where I started, that precision aquaculture is not at its core a question of which species you are farming, shrimp, tilapia, carp, it doesn't matter. It's a question of biological literacy. If you understand that probiotic and how they are working, and what is the, what are the importance, how they are, what important role they are playing, then you can very nicely use this probiotic, and you can get the effectiveness out of those probiotics. It would not be and wastage of money. Otherwise, the way people are using, those are merely wastage, right? But of course, from the very beginning, you should start using the probiotic, because whenever the situation arises, they will start working on their own. Okay, thank you then. Now, if there is any question, in that case, I can briefly answer those. Otherwise, you need to send the questions through mail or WhatsApp number, whatever I have given in my first slide. Is there any question, Rajni, so far?
Mr. Gautam, you are able to hear me?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So thank you for a detailed presentation. I'll take up some questions. In the meantime, can you please stop sharing the screen?
oh, sure.
Yeah. So the first question is, what is meant by microbial workforce in aquaculture prawns?
This microbial, this is the consortium. There are various different strains of microbes, that is in combination, it is called the probiotic, and as a probiotic, we are using, sorry, we are using these uh, mm, consortium of bacteria, varieties of strains, which have got their particular role to play. So those are called the probiotic, and these are the, I mean, in the mechanism I have shown that how they are acting. What is the mechanism of their action?
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Gautam, can you please stop sharing the screen? Click on share, stop screen share, the green color button. You should be able to see at the top of, yeah.
Okay. Is it okay now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next question is, how do beneficial microbes improve water quality, pond quality, and fish growth?
Okay. Now, as in the mechanism itself, we have discussed that how the water quality is this thing. See, suppose I will just say for the in an answer, I will just say that see, suppose there is a pH spike, right? So then the lactic acid bacteria start acting. Lactic acid bacteria, they are generating that lactic acid, and in turn they are just neutralizing the uh, uh, pH and balancing it. So that way, these water quality and what other things they are doing, that whatever uh, organic loads are there, they are just consuming, that those bacteria are consuming those uh, impurities and improves the water quality, right? So that is the that way they are just acting as a beneficial microbes. And at the bottom sludge, whatever depositions are there, the bacteria are degrading those things, and they are not allowing the hydrogen sulfide to generate. That way they are creating the uh, good environment at the bottom. At the same time, nitrifying bacteria, they are converting those ammoniacal nitrogen into nitrite and nitrate, and then nitrogen gas. So that way they are protecting those things. I mean the bottom sludge. So that way they are protecting the bottoms quality. They are maintaining. They are helping in maintaining the bottoms. Now, the fish, this thing, as you have seen, that beneficial bacteria is not allowing the harmful bacteria uh, in the gut system. They are just, I mean, the competitive exclusion is there, and due to those mechanisms, that harmful bacteria are not getting the chance to attack the gut system. That way, they are protecting the gut and the health of the bacteria. Sorry, health of the animals, prawns or fish, right? So that way they are improving it. And the FCR wise, they are just I mean, when they are doing all these things, the bacteria growth is taking place. Now, when the large number of bacteria is growing, they are becoming the flock. Those flocks, the fishes and prawns, they are just consuming those flocks, and those flocks are those bacterial body. Those are very nutritious. I mean, nutritional value are very high. They are high in protein, and the amino acid profile of those protein content is very unique. All these essential amino acid and non-essential amino acids are present in those flocks. So that way, that FCR and other things are getting improved. So that is the, I think that is the answer of this question. This question.
Okay. And what are the key signs that indicate ponds has an imbalanced microbial population?
Microbial population wise, see, first thing is that you will see the transparency level of the water body improves. Then froth conditions, various types of froth formation happens when the new microbial growth is there in the pond. Second thing is that if you see the activity of the fishes and prawns, then you will feel that yes, bacteria are there. So that is one thing. Otherwise, visually, it cannot be this thing. Other than these symptoms, you cannot judge whether the bacteria are there or not. Only thing is that you just need to maintain the uh, first thing is that keeping quality of the probiotics, whatever you are procuring. Second thing is that activation, proper activation process. Third thing is that application timing. If the application timing is proper, then bacteria will be there. It will remain there. Fourth thing is that the uh, time period means from the very beginning up to the end of these things, or just at the young level of those animals. If you apply continuously these probiotics, then definitely the probiotics will survive and it will remain in the system. So that I think should satisfy your answer.
Yeah. Okay. And next question is, what pond conditions, that is the pH, dissolved oxygen, temperature, are essential for beneficial microbes to thrive?
Uh, See, temperature-wise, in the pond, there is no abnormal temperature happens for the killing of the bacteria. So, at any temperature, it can be used. Only thing is that if anybody is there from the colder region means suppose cold water fish. In case of your Himachal Pradesh or Uttarakhand, whoever is there, there the application will be little difficult for the bacteria probiotics, the beneficial bacteria. Otherwise, temperature will not create any trouble. Then pH, of course, in the water pH, it remains in and around 7, 5.5, 5.8 to 7, 8. So up to 8, 9, that these bacteria will survive. And whenever you apply those bacteria, if the population of the bacteria is sufficient, in that case, they themselves will create the pH maintenance, I mean balancing. So that would not create any trouble. And the second thing is that proper oxygenation. Dissolved oxygen level is very, very much important for the survival of those bacteria. Although they are heterogenic in nature, means they can survive in lower level of oxygen and higher level of oxygen also, right? So it means they are, to some extent, they can withstand that anaerobic condition as well as in the aerobic condition. So that way, oxygen level also will not create any trouble for the survival of the bacteria. Only thing is that, see, if the oxygen level is very low, in that case, instead of bacteria, your fish also will go die, right? So that way, at the whatever oxygen level is being maintained, that is more than sufficient for the survival of those probiotic and beneficial bacteria, right? So that I think it addresses that question.
Yeah. Yeah. And can microbial products help reduce disease outbreaks and antibiotic use in aquaculture?
Of course it is. Of course it is. It is very much, very, very much useful. So, antibiotic instead of, I mean, if anybody uses this probiotic from the very beginning, means the pond preparation itself, that is very important to say. And I am giving stress on the point that people should start using probiotic from the very beginning, means the pond preparation level itself. Then your antibiotic is not required, will not be required. your FCR will be good. You can preserve the feed quantity. You can reduce the feeding quantity. Your water quality will be very good. Your fish health will be, I mean, animal health will be very good. There would not be any requirement of any disinfectant. There would not be require any chemicals. So lot of benefits are there using this probiotic, but only thing is that you need to know that it should be in proper manner and from the very beginning up to the end. Means, and the costing wise, if you see, the cost of probiotic is not at all very high with respect to the uh, other conditions, right? See, suppose if you are not using this probiotic, there will be mortality. If you are not using this probiotic, in that case, your feed consumption will be more, your FCR will be high. So instead of that thing, if you pay a part of the, I mean, a part of your those extra cost into the probiotic, then it will be beneficial and it will be cost effective, very very much cost effective. So
Okay.
I think, yeah, I think this will definitely satisfies your answer.
Yeah. Next question. What are the common mistakes farmers make while using probiotics and microbial formulations?
The common mistake they are using, that they do not start using from the at the right time, means in the during the pond preparation, they are not using probiotic. That is the first thing. Second thing is that when they are observing that they are facing the problem, then they start using probiotic, but it is not the right time. So that is the main this thing. And second thing is that they are not using the proper probiotic, and they are not activating it also properly, and they are not maintaining the hygiene for the activation process. So these two three minor things they should use, and they should continuously use probiotic. That cost of those probiotics are not very high in compared to other adverse circumstances they used to absorb. So that is the thing, I think, it is the answer of these questions.
Okay. How can farmers monitor whether the microbial treatment is working effectively?
So again, it's a repetition. In fact, see, water quality will be good, water will be very clear. Then there will be mild foaming at the but top of the top surface of the water. Then your movement of the fishes will be good. There will not be white fishes. There should be, I mean, the movements, I mean, the fish and prawns will be healthy. You can see the health condition, they will be very active, right? By observing these things, you can understand that yes, probiotic is working, and there is no need of these chemicals. You are not feeling any need for the disinfections in disinfectant and then antibiotics and disease outbreak, whatever it is, right? So that way, I think you can understand that yes, probiotic is working nicely. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And last two questions.
Hmm.
As a proprietor of biofarm solutions, what are the most common water quality challenges your customers face and how do microbial solutions address them?
Mainly the water. This is that water clarity. It is. I mean, the impurity is one other. Say, if I say in the scientific terminology, the COD and BOD is high in the water, in the pond water, right? Because they are using a lot of feed, unnecessary. They are using more feed, and those are creating trouble. So that is one thing. Second thing is that used to face the pH hike. They used to face the uh, disease. Very common disease are these your white fishes and these white guard problem, white spot problem. So if they start using these probiotic, in that case, this thing will not happen at all. It is guaranteed. So that is the thing they used to see. In our case, whatever probiotic we do supply, we are getting very good result.
Right. Okay. And based on your field experience, what practical advice would you give new fish and shrimp farmers to build a healthy and sustainable pond ecosystem from the beginning?
Select a good, consistent probiotic. Ask them to supply the certificate of analysis of that batch. Then use activate the probiotic if it as per the direction of the manufacturer. Then apply at right moment at right proportion, and continuously use as per the guideline of the manufacturer. Then you will get the result. See, if you apply the probiotic, if the bacteria is there, see that's why you are asking them for the certificate of analysis, because the certificate of analysis is the only assurance you are getting from the uh, manufacturer. Right now, the if the quality of the probiotic is good, means if the viable count is sufficient, in that case that will go into the water and they will survive, and they will not create any trouble but to work. They will definitely work. And if the bacteria works, in that case you will get the benefit out of those working. So that is the main thing. And don't compromise in the with the probiotic. You can compromise with feed. You just restrict feed. You can easily reduce feed giving by 20%. You don't use whatever calculations are coming, you just reduce that feed by 20% and use that cost for the probiotic. Then it will be much more beneficial. Then your yield will be good, and they will repay back your cost of probiotic. So cost of probiotic will be almost free, and survival rate will be high, your yield will be good, and the growth also will be good, and you will be tension free.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Gautam. So I don't see any more questions.
Okay.
So now we have come to end of question round. On
Okay.
behalf of agricultureinformation.com, we'd like to thank you for the detailed presentation, answering all the questions in depth. So
Thank
we'll
you
be
very
ending
much.
now. Have a good day and have a good evening, good weekend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.